It is a fact of life that most of us just can't seem to avoid. We're talking about debt. But how do you handle your debt and still stay afloat with your day-to-day expenses? Well, here with the answer is Colin Evans from Evans Financial Group. So Colin, let's talk about debt. Nobody ever wants to talk about debt, but we've got to.
You know, and I like to bring this topic up typically twice a year. I like to bring it up right after the holidays and about mid-summer time as we're getting ready to go into the holidays, because I want to put some refreshers and reminders out there because you know, the cost of goods today, the cost that it takes us to get to the grocery stores, all those things that we're going through, it's expensive, and we can find ourselves kind of wrapped up and get consumed with debt. So we put together a couple things to kind of really help people just get in their heads, and here's some structures and way that we can kind of get through it. At first one we want to go through, let's create a budget. You've heard me talk about budgeting time and time again, but that is really kind of a ground zero. This is a great starting point. This is allowing us to know what's coming in and what's going out. We can really start paying attention to extra expenses or things that we might be kind of overfunding or paying a little bit for. You know, it's like when I remember hearing, you know, people in the Hulus and the Rokus and
all the streaming services.
They're like, oh, I'm going to cut my, you know, the Comcast or DirecTV bill out, and we're going to DirecTV. Well, then they started adding packages,
more now.
and you start adding little extras. Oh, well, cut commercials out, and then all of a sudden you're back up at the kind of the square one of where you already were. You know, another good one is what I call all the time is the latte factor. It's like, hey, if I'm spending $8 at Starbucks versus $2 to make that coffee or cappuccino at the house, those things can help us with cutting down expenses if we're trying to start looking and whittling away at some of the debt. One of the really two big ones that we look at are debt snowballing and debt avalanche. And debt snowballing is probably my favorite one, and the most common one that we actually discuss with people. And debt snowballing is when people start getting into wraps and the credit card monsters start attacking them. Well, what we want to do is really put this into a structure and give a plan to put this put this animal to rest. And in a debt snowball, what we're going to do is we're going to list our debts, the highest one to the lowest one. And what happens is, when we're paying off bills, we have debts, a lot of times it becomes, and it's just what the phenomenon is, but it comes into people's heads like, hey, this one's got a really high debt or a higher interest, I'm going to put all my extra over into this account. Well, when we want to snowball it, we're taking all of our extra that we might be funding elsewhere, and we're moving that to the very bottom of the list. We're moving that to the lowest number. And what that allows us to do is we're able to start really kind of ratcheting up. We're going to knock this bottom one out. We're going to move to the next one.
So in reverse from what most people think about.
Correct. And what that allows you to do, psychologically, you get like a little oomph in you because you're.
I did it.
Yeah, because you're having these small wins. You know, it's like, hey, I just knocked out this small debt right here for $500. Now my next one's $8. You know, and now we're going to start dumping all the extra into the next one. Well, when we look at debt avalanche, that's actually where we're starting, and we're looking for the highest interest rate first, and we're going to start putting all our funds there to try and whittle it away. While debt snowball is the fastest way to get out of debt, debt avalanche process, actually you spend a little bit less in your interest payments. So that's kind of really I'll say the catch-22, but debt snowball is the most common one that we see because we can have those little wins and it starts helping you really get on track, and you can almost put it to a time structure of knowing exactly when you will be out of debt, which is a really good goal set because that really helps people when you can kind of put that in your mind and know where you're going with that. And then the last thing, increase income. I go, how are you going to do that? One of my favorite things to do, and when it happens to me at home, is I love to find stuff occasionally, and it goes onto eBay. And as soon as one sells on eBay, I become like this little madman running around the house.
What else can I sell?
What else? You know, okay, the $24 for a panini maker. You know, then I'm going, ooh, what else do I have out there? But those little things that we have that we consume over time that are great ways. That's other things to look at. You know, it doesn't hurt to Uber or be a DoorDash or something along those lines. If you're looking for a quick way to start getting funds in to try and hammer out some debt and get rid of things. It could only be temporary, and think of it as that. Doesn't matter what that job is. If you're trying to get a goal in mind, and that's getting debt free, get to it as fast as you can so it doesn't eat you up.
Some great options there. I've taken lots of mental notes over here, snowballing versus avalanche, and what can you get rid of out of the house. Well, Colin, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us today.